What your favorite songs that tell cool story? Big Bad Leroy Brown, You Don't Mess Around with Jim, both by Jim Croce. Both basically have the same story and they're great. Essentially there's a big scary guy that everyone in the area is afraid of. Eventually someone else kicks the crap out of them to everyone's surprise. Croce is awesome. I really dig Operator 2. That last verse, asking the operator to forget about the call. There's no one there I really wanted to talk to. Sorry, there's something in my eye. You know it happens every time. Gordon Lightfoot, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, grew up in Michigan. Hearing about all of the wrecked ships sitting on the bottom of the Great Lakes. It may just be freshwater, but that doesn't mean that some wicked storms don't come through every once in a while. Fun fact. The song plays on repeat at the Whitefish Point Shipwreck Museum, where the Edmund Fitzgerald's wreckage is displayed. The night the lights went out in Georgia. Semi-spoiler, it has a shock ending. This is the one I always think. It always makes me so sad. Escape, the Pina Colada song. It took me a few years to really listen to the lyrics. But after I did, I was surprised how cool they were. I recommend listening to it again. Oh, It's Duckworth, by Kendrick Lamar. Tells the story of things that his dad did leading up to Kendrick being born and how it eventually affected his music career. Because if Anthony killed Ducky, Top Dog would be serving life while I grew up without father and die in a gunfight. David Bowie, Space Oddity. The tragically hip, 38 years old. Oh man, I came into this thread without a clear answer of my own, but 38 years old is definitely it. The Devil Went Down to Georgia I think is a really fun one. There is also a sequel called The Devil Came Back to Georgia and I say it is just as good or better. I've always been partial to Uneasy Rider myself. He Stopped Loving Her Today, George Jones, Whiskey Lullaby, Brad Paisley and Alison Krauss, The Night That the Lights Went Out in Georgia, Reba, The Beaches of Cheyenne, Garth Brooks. Whiskey Lullaby just about killed me. My mum died of an accidental overdose of alcohol and Benadryl and she died all alone. That song made me cry so much. El Paso, by Marty Robbins. A Boy Named Sue by Johnny Cash. One Piece at a Time is pretty good, too. Folsom Prison Blues, 2. And Cocaine Blues, 1. Metallica. This one is based heavily on a book, Johnny Got His Gun. It's as horrifying as you'd think, just listening to the song. It's also a movie by the same name. Alice's Restaurant by Arlo Guthrie. I used to despise it. My parents made me listen every Thanksgiving, but it has grown on me in my adult years. Maybe because I understand it better. My husband thinks my mom is crazy because she made me listen to this every Thanksgiving. And now I make Hi Monsieur. I'm so glad we aren't the only ones. Hurricane, Bob Dylan. Meatloaf, Paradise by the Dashboard Light, or objects in the rearview mirror may appear closer than they are. That one makes me cry. Mine is probably Take the Money and Run. It tells the story of two young people who get bored with life and want more, so they start with smoking weed and progress into armed robbery where they shoot a man in his house or business and go on the run avoiding the law, and at last the male gets caught. I don't think Billy Joe gets caught in the end. Asterisk, they got the money, hey. You know they got away. They headed down south and they're still running today. Asterisk. Stan, by Emile Monsieur. That shit is crazy. Dear Lee Monsieur. Cats in the Cradle, Harry Chapin. Harry Chapin has some great story songs. Taxi is another one. It's almost his whole catalog. Sequel, Mr. Tanner. The Rock. Anywhere's a better place to be. Wald. Dreams Go By. Mail Order Annie. 30,000 pounds of bananas. In the Guest, Sad but Beautiful. I like the Dolly Parton version, it's a real. Hotel California by the Eagles. I always wanted someone to create a movie based on this song. I imagine it's kind of like The Shining. Jesus fucking Christ, I have never had a single unique thought. Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits. Telegraph. Whiskey in the Jar. Carolina drama, The Raconteurs 8ps://U2. B. ML5S66IGX08. Piano Man by Billy Joel tells a good story. Mariner's Revenge by the Decemberists. Absolute for it. It feels like a 50-page short story converted into a 9-minute song. I can imagine it being a musical, play, literally anything by Sabaton. They're a Swedish metal band that sing about people and events in military history. I'm surprised I had to scroll down this far to find the Swedish men. Man, do they pick some interesting historical wars to sing about. The saga begins by Weird Al. Is American Pie the same? Technically they're both retaking of history, but the Weird Al version is fictional. Harper Valley PTA. The Devil Went Down to Georgia, sung by Johnny Cash, written by Shel Silverstein. El Paso by Marty Robbins. Rocky The Beatles, Queen's The whole album Operation Mindcrime. 1. The Streets of Laredo 2. Dance of Death by Iron Maiden 3. Ghost Riders in the Sky 4. The Sound of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel 5. Puff the Magic Dragon by Peter, Paul and Mary. Dance with the Devil, Immortal Technique. It's not cool. It's actually horrifying and descriptive. But it's fantastic. I always admired that song. You Never Know is another good one. Paradise by the Dashboard Lights, Meatloaf, Uncle Tom's Cabin, Warrant. Pink Floyd, The War, the opening credits theme song to Dinosaur Train. Hero of War by Rise Against. Nick Cave, Where the Wild Rose Grow. A first-person narrative that switches perspectives between the murderer and victim on alternating verses, where sharing a duet on the chorus. The entire American Idiot album TBH. I think they turned it into a Broadway show. John Mayer, Walt Grace's Submarine Test. You Don't Mess Around with Jim, a tough gangster in New York that nobody wants to fight. Takes advantage of a southern boy named Slim, who comes up to New York looking for his money. Beat up Jim and shoots him dead. The chorus is great. You don't hug in Superman's cape, you don't spit into the wind, you don't pull the mask off the old Lone Ranger, and you don't mess around with Jim. By the end, the chorus has changed Jim to Slim. Another one is Coward of the County, where a little boy's dad dies in prison, and his last words were telling his son not to get into fights, and that it's okay to walk away. Well, everyone thinks he's a coward his whole life, and 3 men rape his wife. When he finds out, he goes into the bar room, meets one halfway across the floor, turns around, and as they think he's chicken out, he locks the door so they can't escape. Then he beats the shit out of them and knocks them all out. The chorus goes, promise me, son, not to do the things I've done. Walk away from trouble if you can. It doesn't mean you're weak if you turn the other cheek. I hope you're old enough to understand, son, you don't have to fight to be a man. By the end, the chorus changed a little, when instead it's the boy who's now talking to his dad saying, I promised you, Dad, not to do the things you've done. I've walked away from trouble when I can. Now please don't think I'm weak. I didn't turn the other cheek. And Papa, I sure hope you understand, sometimes you gotta fight when you're a man. And lastly, The Gambler, which you're probably most familiar with. A guy's on a train with one other man, and they start playing poker. The man asks out singer for a bit of whiskey, a cigarette, and a light, and in return he teaches him how to basically perfect the art of playing poker. Then the man nods off to sleep and passes away. The chorus goes as follows. You gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away and know when to run. You never count your money. While you're sitting at the table there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. Lake Pontchartrain, Train, Ludo. That song is why I don't eat fish on road trips to the south. A Little Piece of Heaven, Avenged Sevenfold. It's particularly relevant around Halloween. That song is so fucked, man. Pumped Up, Blink 182. I want to fuck a dog in the ass. Notable that he only goes to fuck a dog because he failed in fucking your mum, your dad, a fucking pirate. I'm not making this shit up, it's really in there. Hurricane by Bob Dylan. Also Alice's Restaurant is a classic. American Pie by Don McLean, and The Road Goes On Forever by Robert Earl Keen. by the Crash Test Dummies. Tenacious D, Tribute to Hell and Back by Sabaton. Literally every Sabaton song will tell a story of some historical event or figure. This needs to be higher. They are so good at telling their stories in verse. Keep the Wolves Away. The artist name escapes me. Lordi and Porterville. John Fogerty is easily one of the greatest American songsmiths. Ween, Buenas Tardes Amigo. The Rains of Kashmir. Yeah, it's a fake song about a fake story, but still super cool. Every track in the Pick of Destiny. The Road Goes On Forever. The Highwaymen Conversing with the Devil. Ray Willie Habibi. Guitar, Guy Clark, Amos Moses, Jerry Reed, Pancho and Lefty, Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings, Mr. Shorty, Marty Robbins, and honestly pretty much every other old country song. Don McLean, Vincent Beautiful, song about Vincent van Gogh. Lola by the Kinks. Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody.